Being 6 o'clock, I call the Lisle Library District Committee of the Whole Budget Discussion Meeting for March 11th, 2020 to order. Roll call, please.
Marjorie Bartelli. Here. Thomas Duffy.
Here.
Thomas Hummel.
Here.
Karen Larson.
Here.
Jenny Norton.
Here.
Liz Sullivan.
Here.
Emily Swistek, absent.
All right. Next item on the agenda is opportunity for visitors to speak. I do not see anybody here, so we will move into the main agenda item, which is the fiscal year 2020 through 2020, or fiscal year 2020, 2021 draft budget discussion. I'll turn it over to the director. She has a PowerPoint presentation. It's probably best to just let her go through the whole thing and save the questions until the end.
Okay, while Chris turns down the lights, I have a copy. Can I pass this to you?
Sure.
Thank you. And it's the same information that was in your packet, it's just arranged differently and maybe has some visuals to help out with the PowerPoint. Okay, so I am pleased to present the 2020-2021 LLD working budget. There is a copy of the budget in the committee of the whole packet, and it is posted to the library's website, lisle.org. This proposal covers all areas of the working budget. Contrasting from previous years where the cost categories were discussed in separate committee of the whole meetings, we felt that presenting the budget in whole allowed for better understanding of the financial needs for the next fiscal years. I know that some trustees also requested that we do this, so I hope that has been well received. The library's fiscal year begins July 1st, and the library serves the village of Lisle as well as unincorporated areas in Lisle and Naperville. So I want to mention here that the library understands that the significance of it being a tax-supported institution, and the majority of our funding does come from property taxes. You see here on the graphic on the left, numbers from our most recent audit that 92% of our funding comes from property taxes. And then on the right, you see a graphic of an example property tax bill for a homeowner in our district that shows that the library portion of the tax bill is 4%. And in preparing any budget, we consider the tax burden on all district residents. So in fact, for the last 3 years, the library has decreased its tax levy. And in doing so, most property owners have experienced a decrease in the library portion of their property tax bills for 3 years in a row. So with a series of pragmatic levy ordinances, we now plan for our 2021 fiscal year expenditures using this working budget. So I've developed this proposal in consultation with the assistant director, department directors, and other administrative staff. And as the library no longer employs a full-time financial director, this is our first year preparing a budget without that assistance. However, in 2019, the library has outsourced financial reporting using Sikich, that's a local company, accounting company, and they've reviewed key components of this proposal as well as made some formatting recommendations and estimations for us. We reference a number of resources when preparing the budget, including the Illinois Library Association standards for Illinois public libraries and recommendations from other industry advisors such as HR Source. And as per usual, revenues are based on projected interest, supplemental income, and primarily the tax levy, as you all know. And expenditure lines utilize prior year actuals for comparison. They also may include anticipated projects in some lines. And any line increases may be linked to inflation, CPI, recommendations from agencies such as LIRA, that's our risk and insurance agency, as well as may include some new library initiatives such as RFID. And then, as you know, decreases may be due to internal restructuring or reprioritization of projects, and the overall reduction of the levy. And this year we do have something new. We added a projected actual column for the current fiscal year. I want to note that this estimated total does not include the end of the year audit adjustment. So those audit adjustments affect some account lines, while others may remain the same. So for example, at the end of the year, depending on the cutoff date for some bills, Some bills are shifted back into the prior year. This could be anything from materials to equipment. And this also happens with payroll, so at the end of the year, there's about 15 days that get shifted back to the prior year. So this column is, again, an estimate without that audited adjustment. However, it does give us a sneak peek to the end of this fiscal year, and I think there were some board members who requested this column. So
Thank you very much.
I hope, again, that was a welcomed addition. Okay, moving on. In late 2018, the board adopted a new strategic plan, and this plan outlines our development for the next few years. We have 4 focus areas, as you know. We've got advocacy, outreach, awareness, facility, organizational culture, and lastly, technology and innovation. The public can access this plan by visiting the library's website, lislibrary.org, under the About Us tab. And over the past 2 years, we've identified a number of needs that correspond with mostly the facility area and the technology areas. And this planning, the strategic planning, will affect this 2021 budget in various account lines, including special reserve. And we anticipate significant long-range project planning and financial planning from this budget forward. All of the reports and presentations regarding capital project discussions can be found on the library website under the About Us tab. Okay, let's get into the cost categories. The first is employee costs. So as we all know, as with every institution, salaries and benefits represent the largest budgeted expenditure. This cost is expended via our corporate fund. And LLD employees are the people who carry out the library's mission, and they develop and implement the strategic plan goals we just referenced. They are also the folks who interact with everybody in person and on a day-to-day basis, whether it's on the phone, in-person at programs, or via digital means. In 2021, salaries represent 52% of budgeted costs. This is well within ALA's compensation standards for salaries, typically accounting for up to 60% of the total budget. And then salaries plus benefits, and this includes IMRF, FICA, health insurance, represent 67% of employee costs. Again, well within the standards that mention 70% for both salaries and benefits. So I think we're doing pretty well there. The library currently employs 56 staff, 30 of which are full-time, 26 part-time. And the staffing levels are consistent with the prior year, between 56 and 57 staff. So I think last year actually we had 57 staff. This year's 56 at this time. Our FTEs per 2019's IPLA report is 40.43. This is in line with the recommended staffing level of 40.5 per ILA's classification and standards for public libraries. So we're also doing well with staffing levels. I also think it merits mentioning that we are open 7 days a week for 69 hours a week, and that calculates to 3,469 hours a year. So let's take a little bit of a deeper look to this spreadsheet. The employee cost category remains essentially flat regarding a budget-to-budget increase and decrease. And if you look at the projected actuals, that it's essentially flat with last year's actuals as well. And then this flat proposal includes performance increases, a minimum wage adjustment we've been implementing from year to year, and projected increases in health insurance costs. And this is per Limerick. Okay, on to building costs. Take this step. Building costs include all utilities, maintenance contracts such as landscaping and HVAC, and non-contractual building repair work such as when we repaired the curbs and the sidewalks around the campus. This category remains flat regarding a budget-to-budget increase and decrease. And just to note that the non-contractual line contains the prior .02 lines. We shifted the sums into this line when we dissolved the .02 levy. Okay, we move on to operating and insurance. Operating costs include postage, printing, and processing. And this category shows a 14% increase, which amounts to about $14,000 and a half, $14,000. And this is primarily due to RFID processing. That is the ongoing tagging of materials once we begin that overall project. And we might be overestimating here, but until we dive in, we want to ensure that we are actually budgeting for enough to cover the cost of this project. And then moving on to insurance costs, these include notary and treasurer bonding, property damage insurance, and workers' compensation. And this category shows a 24.5% increase, amounting to about $7,600. And this is per the recommendation of our risk agency, LIRA. And then when we move on to contractual and personnel development costs, they include contractual costs include attorney's fees, audit costs, investment agency fees, and payroll fees. And this category shows a 20% increase, amounting to about $26,000, and this is primarily due to outsourcing our financial reporting to Sikich. And we also anticipate a salary study in the next year to assist with that minimum wage goal and benchmarking of the various positions. The last time we did this was in 2013-14 fiscal year, and many sources recommend doing a professional salary study within 5 years, so we're a little past due. And then under personnel development costs, this includes staff and trustee dues, conference attendance, and training. And this category shows a nominal increase of 6.75%, which is about $2,000. And we move on to equipment, materials, and program costs. Equipment costs include Polaris, and that's our integrated library system. When I say ILS, that's what I mean. Major technology purchases and minor facility equipment, such as maybe a chair or a book cart. And this category shows a 9.5% decrease, about $14,000 there, due to what I'm calling a new balance, achieving a new balance regarding technology purchases. We did a lot of purchases last year, and we're using our new technology plan, and I think we've righted that ship in terms of purchases for this next fiscal year. Not to say that something might not come up, but I think we're better aligned using this number. And just a reminder that that number is also from the prior .02 levy fund that included some technology. And then the next line is materials. This includes all physical materials, all digital content, and interlibrary loan costs. This category shows a 1.9% increase, which is about $11,000, and that's mostly due to inflationary increases. And then under programs, this includes all library programs, youth, adult, and teen, community relations costs, and supplies for such activities. And this category shows a nominal 1%, $500 increase. All right. And then moving on to restricted contingency and special reserve. Restricted expenses include gifts, grant monies, transfers to special reserve, and IMRF funding. And this category shows an 8.5%, $30,000 increase due to a recommendation from Sikich to include budgeting for the Illinois per capita grant. We haven't budgeted for these monies before, and I think it was just using a different philosophy in budgeting, because the philosophy back then was we were never guaranteed this grant, but Sikich recommended budgeting for it because we have received per capita on a regular basis, although one year we got it very, very late, and this is when the state was going through a lot of budget impasses, but they recommended budgeting for this year. So we are. Okay, then we move on to contingency, and that line remains flat. And special reserve shows a marked decrease of 11.6, basically $70,000, and this is all due to pending board discussion regarding capital projects. And then the budgeted amounts up here that show the differences reflect project costs that have been discussed at our physical plant committee meetings. These include FQC recommendations for a topographic consultant, potential architect design professional, drainage pipe repair project, and potential parking lot repair work due to the drainage repair project. So again, we're just placing them in special reserve as a budget item. Okay. So we're going to talk about revenues. As mentioned, our corporate revenues primarily stem from our tax levy. Our interest earnings have increased if you look at the actuals. And again, you see the recommendation to include that budgeted line for per capita, and we're using an average number in this line, about $30,000. And then in the other revenues lines, IMRF, FICA, working cash, and special reserve. Again, IMRF and FICA are based on the levy as well as using the actuals to project interest. Working cash will be dissolved at the end of this fiscal year, and the interest will no longer be a revenue in this line. And then special reserve shows a budgeted increase of 6% or $20,000 due to a projected increase in interest. You can also see that transfer of working cash within the projected actual for this year in that column, the projected actuals column. And again, these are estimates of interest, so who knows what the market will tell us or react from day to day. Okay. So we're going to move to the summary. The library's revenues, again, all funds are chiefly down due to the decrease in the property tax levy, approximately $116,000 in total. And there is a nominal 2% increase, approximately $93,000 in the overall budgeted expenditures, and that's all operating funds. When you don't include special reserve, and actually when you do include special reserve, we are almost flat. And just for everybody's knowledge, the library has historically come in under budget every year. This is also anticipated for this coming fiscal year, as evidenced by those projected actuals. But again, these are estimates, and this is a budget. So just reminding everybody again that our tax levy has been lowered each year since fiscal year 17-18, and this budget looks to keep us pretty flat across the next fiscal year. So that is the presentation. Thank you for indulging the PowerPoint, and we are open to now for questions and discussion.
Does anybody have any
You want to
questions?
turn on the lights, Chris, please? Thank you.
Any questions, comments for the director?
Great job, it was easy to understand.
Good. Thanks.
Do have a couple of questions.
Okay.
I know, well, no, I don't know, but I believe that minimum wage is due to go up over next couple of years.
The goal is $15 as of 2025.
Okay, will that impact us much?
What we're doing is and we're going to talk about this at the regular board meeting, we're talking about the salary scale.
Okay,
Within the salary scale, we are building in an increase in the lowest level position, and we have been doing that over the last couple of years. And that the only impact is built into this budget is a salary study, which will help us get to that goal of 2025.
okay, so is it something that we can build up over time, or is it something that will wait?
We have been building it over time.
Okay,
Yeah, and actually our reduction in staff in the past couple of years, we've been kind of weighing that with the increase. So we haven't replaced certain staff, or we've merged some positions in anticipation of this increase in minimum wage.
okay, great, thank you. I had another question, I can't remember it, so old age.
I'll take a
Go ahead.
It's just under the contractual, under the line that has sort of the outsourcing and includes the salary study. Do you know offhand what portion of that is the budget for the salary study?
I think it depends. When we look back, we did a salary study in 13-14. It was I think the costs were around $5,000 to $6,000. Was it that around, or $7,000? But that included a rewrite of all of our job positions. We don't have to do that now. So we built in about $3,000 to $5,000 just as a budget number.
Trustee Duffy. So, in fear of always leaning into the line cleaning. I
Gotta make a name for yourself
I
somehow.
know.
We all do.
I guess the question I have is, I think the first of all, the line item that this would even fall underneath the discussion of would be the maintenance contracts, right? The clean/pass. I guess my feeling is, and this is the only thing, I don't know if we want to have a little more discussion if we want to increase that, if we want to, on providing additional cleaning services that we talked. I forgot the dollar amount that had been kind of
Beth has it.
quoted a little bit.
It was about $1,000 a month,
Okay, so about 10 to 12, depending on.
and that was Monday through Friday.
One day, at one time during the day.
Okay, so we have one time right now that it could be an additional time, or is it that one time? Would it be 2 times a day total at the
Well,
cleaning?
one overnight, one during the midday.
Okay,
And it would be an additional 12, let's say 12,000 a year.
okay. I mean, I'll just lean in real hard here. I think with a lot of the stuff that's we're seeing going on now, getting a true disinfecting of those bathrooms a second time a day is at least worth budgeting in here, and then maybe we can go out and get some more bids and then see what we can come across. I think that would be my feeling on it. I'll leave that there.
When they were gonna do the additional cleaning, what were they gonna do?
Karen, I can't hear you.
I
Sorry.
said when they were gonna do the additional cleaning, like say midday or whatever, not the overnight where they do the whatever, but
It
An
was
additional
wiping down the toilets and the sinks and the counters and a quick mop of the floors. Which is just about what they do in the evening.
right.
And what was the cost? 100?
It was $1,000 a month,
Okay.
That's just Monday through Friday.
correct.
And do we get more people Monday through Friday in a day because we have longer hours? Or do we get more people on Saturday and Sunday?
I would say it's pretty even, not Sunday probably, but it's pretty even. I
We're-
mean, we've looked at the.
It's 500 people a day.
Yeah.
On Saturday, it's the 500 people in 8 hours versus the 11 and a half
Yeah.
were open during the week.
Okay.
So we're
be-
open shorter on the weekends, so, especially on Sundays, so.
Sundays average about 250 to 300 people.
And I mean, the point is that you don't have to bring in somebody middle of the day, since it's only open for 4 hours on Sunday.
Right.
And
I
then
would-
Saturday-
I would recommend
But
a
it gets
Sunday.
us dirty because there's just as many people. As a matter of fact, it could get dirtier because you got more people in a shorter amount of time. One could argue. Either argument. So we're talking about 12 grand per year.
So I'd like some direct, so is there a consensus either way? Because we could build this in, because we're not voting on this today, because it's committee, but next month we would be, so.
Is your, I know you brought it up before, but are you more concerned because of the current environment right now?
I think independent of the current environment, I look at it this way, and I try to put myself in my own shoes, which is if 500 people a day go through the building, and let's say a quarter of them use the facilities, and you're that poor soul at the end of the day that's using it, and the staff are great, you guys are tidying up, making sure it looks presentable is the best way to put it, but I feel like a true disinfecting of it, and I would make sure in any bid that we would go through, I'd want to get that flushed out. I don't want them just to come in there and
No pun intended.
you know what? Pun intended. Yes. I would want to make sure like they're meeting what I would feel, but I think it's worthwhile to put in there. And now, especially with currently with we have 2 at-risk populations with kids and seniors, that I think we want to make sure that those facilities are cleaned a little more thoroughly throughout the day.
So I will say before other board members speak, the quote Beth is referencing is just for the lobby restrooms. We have 2 others downstairs. And as far as a clinical disinfecting, I'm not so sure that that's what's being offered. So if you're going to budget for that kind of a thing, I would go higher, if that's the way you want to go.
I think I would be fine just doing the 12,000 and then seeing where that goes with us. I mean, I did not know it was something that
We can also use the appropriation if once we get to that point, we can add to the appropriation for this line to allow for that, if that's the way the board wants to go, once we receive those quotes.
I mean, under normal circumstances, I don't know if it's, yeah, I think it's improved since we talked about it last, so I don't know if it's, you know, worth that price, however, because of what's going on today, or the recent events, I mean, I'm okay with maybe doing something on a short-term basis, like for the next month, 3 months, maybe, and see how that goes. Because I don't, who knows? I mean, we'll actually, when we get to the regular board meeting, we'll talk a little bit more about what's going on right now. But
For budget purposes, where
but
do you want me to
just
go?
for the budget purposes. So, I mean, I could see bumping it up a little bit for the short term, but I don't know if I'm,
For the budget?
what is it?
This budget for 2021.
Oh, that's right, that's right. This doesn't start
Starting in
July 1.
July.
That's right.
Others?
What is it? I would rather just maybe go through the next, let's say, 3 months and see what the environment is. So, I don't know what everybody wants to do.
Take a straw.
And the only thing if we're gonna go that route, if there's anywhere else folks think we could take money from and to at least offset it, so we don't necessarily increase what the directors originally proposed.
And remember, it's
It's a budget.
a budget.
Yeah. So, I don't know, who wants to go first, Trustee or Treasurer Norton?
I think an increase, like we're talking about, is very reasonable.
12.
Yeah. And it's a budget. Again, we
It's
don't
a
have
budget,
to,
sure.
but I think for various reasons, I'm still kind of formulating a pulse on what the right response to risks is on the current environment, as we're phrasing it. But as Tom said, we've already made improvements. Thanks to the champion over here, perhaps we can give him some credit for that.
Unwilling champion.
Should we put a plaque?
Perhaps.
Brought to you
Just
by
me with a thumbs up. Yeah.
Or a toilet bowl.
Yeah.
Plunger.
So,
So overall supportive. It's a matter of safety that I think, if we view it as a matter of safety, none of us would argue with funding for that.
we'll go down here with Trustee Sullivan.
I mean, I'm a foot in each camp. And I know we're talking about budget today, so I would rather put it in there for the budget today, but then I guess in the regular board meeting, bring up the other discussion about, do we want to do something now? Because obviously the budget doesn't start now.
Sure, yeah, and we're gonna do that. Let me just interject quick. So if we budget for it, we can still discuss before the fiscal year starts if we want to expend those funds, or, okay.
I mean, any budget, we've stopped doing programs mid-year
Okay.
because,
All
it's
So, I didn't mean to interrupt, Trustee Sullivan, so are you okay with budgeting, but wanna,
Yeah, I say put it in the budget and we're not voting on it right now,
no,
but
we're not.
I'd like to have it as a placeholder so it reminds us to discuss it.
Trustee Larson,
I agree.
put it in there?
Yeah.
All right, I would trust it.
You know what I said.
Okay, and Vice President
Oh, I
Bartel.
thought you were gonna change your. I'm fine.
He wasn't comfortable
All right.
with the choice
Put it
of
as
plaque.
well.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like the plaque idea
thank you, I appreciate it.
though.
I don't know, who I left, did Trustee Sullivan, were you last one to speak? Were you there when they asked the question, or was it Trustee Duffy? Or no, I don't remember.
You handed the baton to me
Okay,
and came
yeah.
around
Okay,
here.
so-
Everyone's had a chance.
Is there, all right. So I'll try to, because I actually have my page number for the original thing. In the desk income, I believe it was, the fines and fees.
Under what?
It's gonna be under revenue, so it's going to be Yeah, this one.
Oh, I didn't number the PowerPoint, but the other pages are numbered. In the packet, it's numbered.
It is page 6 in the packet. This one right here. So it is under,
Okay.
it's under, it looks like the first revenue page, under corporate revenues. You have 35,000 in fines and fees budgeted.
Right.
Is that, since, we'll talk about it a little bit.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert. So the Personnel Policy Committee talked about maybe eliminating fines, but then trying to replace that with other revenue, which would most likely be passport, is what they're going for.
There are passport programs at other libraries that have generated very sizable funds. There are also other new ways of generating alternative funds, such as, what was it, Chris?
It was a license plate renewal.
License plate renewal, as well as at the public libraries. I think there's only one library who's doing it now, but
Would be
why
that.
couldn't we do that, something
So-
like that? So there's, the reason it remains flat in terms of like last year's budget to this year's budget, we currently pull in we budgeted $35,000 for fines and fees, lost books, those kinds of things. We're gonna budget the same amount with hopes of initiating a passport program and or other alternatives.
So that was my question, so is that revenue that you're budgeting, that's not fines and fees necessarily, that's gonna be any new revenue that we replace it with, the replacement revenue, I guess.
Right, and it's dependent on
What we do.
when
No, I agree, I
when
agree.
this policy.
agree.
Wait a minute, have we decided
No, we
we're not
haven't.
gonna do fines?
No, we've been this, I just say in case we go that route, that's why I was questioning.
No, we haven't,
We
so
haven't
that's why
decided.
it's,
So
and the
it
other
still could
reason,
happen. It still could happen, we still might, there's only the personal policy talk, it's not a final decision, that was my question.
and that's exactly why it's the same budget
Okay.
amount
Okay.
from this year to the
Okay,
next.
so, I guess
I
it's.
thought I slept through a meeting.
No, you're fine. But I guess then that's my question. Are you budgeting fines or are you just budgeting any either fine revenue or are you looking at passport revenue or a combination?
Okay. I'm budgeting the same
Okay.
from last year to this
Yeah.
year because we have not made the decision to move to
Okay.
being fine-free.
Gotcha.
And if we do decide to move to being fine-free, there are alternative sources of revenue
Correct.
that mirror the same amount we are pulling in.
Gotcha. So it's kind of an either or.
I would say hypothetically, when we decided to do fine free, there's probably a transitional period that allows it to not
Yeah.
have any budget ramifications.
Okay. That was the question. And then.
Do other libraries have fine free?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Glen Ellen.
Some.
So,
Some.
Yeah, it's not, all of Chicago Public Libraries went fine-free.
Well,
They're huge.
But there are others in,
And then that's not.
they're also closing branches right now. I mean, gotta tell the whole story.
Well, that we haven't decided.
we'll have full discussion.
Yeah, so that's not, that definitely would be a full board action. That was only discussed in personal policy, did we discuss that even, right?
No.
Yeah, so that's not even,
It's still in
Yes.
draft.
then it's not even
Everything's in
past
draft.
personal policy yet, so that's still, we're not there yet. The other questions I had, I think you actually noted in the PowerPoint and, or have already asked or answered. Oh, just on the security systems, again, it's page 11 on the packet, but in this, it was,
Under special reserve.
is it under special reserve?
Yes.
So if we jump to the packet, or are we doing the presentation first?
Well, this is,
It's the
it's
same,
either or, it's the same stuff, it just presented differently.
it's the same lines. It's under special reserve.
Right, this, I understand, this is much more detailed, and I was only asking questions on this because I thought we were doing one before the other. No problem.
So on the security systems, is that, so that's RFID?
Right.
And then it's also, it's the keypad.
Keyless entry.
Keyless
Again,
entry.
just budgeting if we go, it depends on what we do with the building.
right, that's, I think, all I had, so, yeah, I mean, if you had questions on anything, whether it's the PowerPoint or the packet we got, yeah, ask away.
Okay, I was wondering, when we talk about, training for, personnel development, training for trustees, as I'm watching other boards and what they're doing, I'm wondering if we could have some parliamentarian training, on Robert's Rules of Order. Because I guess I'm realizing that I don't know them as well as maybe I should or I would like to. And also and I think I sent both Tom and Tatiana an email about this, I would like us, and it's one of the things that's recommended in the blue book that you just bought for us, that when you're a trustee on a board, one of the things that you receive is a book about Robert's Rules of Order. And we haven't ever really received one of those. So I'm wondering about both receiving the book, because I tried to check it out here and
It's out.
it's out. So, I'd like to have one that I can take notes in, and I'd also like to have training on it. And since we don't do much training of trustees, I don't think it would be exorbitant to ask for that.
I don't know if we have the issues, thankfully, that maybe some other boards had, so I don't know if we need to do that. I mean, would maybe just having one book that, like, the trustees, we could keep it by our trustee inbox, would that be sufficient? I mean, I don't know.
No. What I'm asking for is not only books for each of us, which is recommended by the ILA, but also a training session. I mean, I learn a lot more when it's presented, it's discussed, I can ask questions. I mean, Tom, to be honest, I've been here since 2017, I've had one training session. I don't think as a trustee, I'm asking for that much to have a second training session.
We usually come in under budget on our trustee seminar line items anyways, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, we could certainly invest in that as part of that line.
I would hope so, and I'm not saying that we behave like any other board, I'm saying it made me realize that I don't know as much as I would like to know.
Would you want, like, to do a trustee training just on procedures like Robert's Rules of Order?
Yeah, parliamentary procedures, which is Robert's
Was
Rules.
there one before?
Before the
This
newer
group,
board
this
members.
group,
Yeah, she was excellent, but she was not inexpensive. And we would have to raise this for that particular
Really?
person. The person who's written the book that I have on my table is The Idiot's Guide to Robert's Rules. And Nancy Sylvester, she's excellent speaker, trainer, but we would have to increase this line.
Couldn't we use 2 years worth? Because I don't think we're gonna spend all of this year's budget that we've budgeted for things.
Well, you'd have to increase the budget. I mean, it's just the budget, so
How much did she charge?
I forget.
I think she
Well,
comes from Rockford.
Yeah, it's travel.
It's travel time.
And it's not necessarily we have to go with this particular person. The other thing we could do,
Cold.
we could do a kind of intergovernmental meeting at Village Hall and all chip in and have
Perfect.
Would you
If
want,
you could pull that off.
you want to try to at least explore that first?
Sure. I mean, here I am speaking, you guys all speak.
I agree. I would say, like, I like the idea of the combined. I mean, after seeing some of our other local bodies have issues that, I just kind of went to YouTube, found a few videos, and just
Robert's Rules is online, but it's very exhausting.
yeah, it's not an exciting read. But I would say maybe in the meantime, on top of the books, if we could compile just maybe some online resources to send to all the trustees too. Sometimes I found it even easier than presentation because they broke it off into sections, so I would read it. But I think it would. I think
Different
doing
people
that,
learn different.
I know. But I think the idea of the combined
Yeah,
is
like a
probably a good idea.
So shoot for that. I would prefer that, because it doesn't hurt, you know, and I don't know how, there's only really one other board that has their meetings televised, so I don't think other boards are having issues either, but I don't know, but it doesn't hurt. I mean, I know some folks go on other trustee training, maybe my opinion sometimes too much, but,
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
no, I said, I know, I mean, it probably doesn't hurt to see if we could do a joint, well, not even just with the village, I mean, even like Park District, Fire District, school districts, who else is left in all of them? Locally, at least, so I
It'd have
mean,
to be a public meeting, we'd have
Oh,
to
of
have a public
course.
forum,
of course,
probably Village Hall.
yeah, probably.
Yeah, why
But-
not?
So shoot for that first.
Right, and if local Lisle isn't interested, maybe we could get a bunch of libraries together. You know, I mean, we've
Yeah,
got
we've done that here before.
several options,
Sure.
you know.
Yeah, I mean,
Why
so-
not?
We could host the training and then charge, and it could be a revenue.
Yeah.
source.
Good deal.
So,
That's our treasure,
so,
Jenny.
so is that, so we want to ask the director first to, ask the other local governments in Lisle if they're interested in that, if they're not interested, then pursue other libraries locally? Is that doable?
What about the books?
I do not need my own copy. I would be okay with Googling and, the sort of modern methods of research.
I've gotten hung up on the 4 different ways to, because I've Googled a lot, and there are 4 different ways to take a second go around and to bring up an issue, and there's an amendment, there's a rescinding, there's a this and there's a that, and one way keeps whatever you passed whole, one way says if you bring it up a second time, what was passed the first time goes away, and so I really do want my own copy so I can look up issues like that, and I would bring it to every meeting and have it here, and I'd love that idiot's guide because
So not Robert's Rules, the Idiot's Guide, right?
Yes.
It's quicker referencing.
yes
I have a copy
of the idiot's guide.
of Robert's Rules.
Oh, I
It's dated,
you know
but
what
for the most part, it
Does
doesn't
it
change.
change?
I don't want the whole Robert's Rules. I want the idiot's
Well, it's a
guide.
small paperback. In the meantime, I'll loan it to you. You can get a head start.
I've read it from cover to cover.
Oh, okay.
So, sorority, college, had to learn it, had to do it. I still can't remember certain things. Like what's the difference between rescinding an amendment, blah, 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 blah.
I don't have an issue. I mean, I don't personally need it, but I don't have an issue if it's available. I think a better idea also is we need to think about as we go through budgeting, even for the next, not this fiscal year, but the next fiscal year after this, how do we continually educate boards, new iterations of boards on Robert Rules of Order, or higher board function, right? And that's probably what this line item is going to become more of versus conferences or something like that. Because it's great that we'll have this combined, let's say theoretically this combined thing happens, but if it's a one-off, then only that one point in time if people are educated, but we need to have them check.
Regular. That's what the line is, it's for regular training.
I don't need a book personally, so, is there money still left? Well, I want, Trustee Larson.
I'll go with the majority, whatever.
Trustee Duffy did it.
I mean a book, but if there's money in the budget, let's get Trustee Sullivan a book.
They're $10.72.
Do we have money still in this year's budget?
I will buy it myself. $10.72. I will buy it myself on Amazon.
We have money, I think it was just, we were trying to gauge if the board is
All
in
right.
favor of purchasing more materials for the board. And
Is this more about the book or
Yeah.
the training and or?
The book is 1072. That's not including
So-
training.
Yeah, well, are we good with this? So
I think we're good. I have no problem with what it currently is budgeted as for now,
Okay,
and we'll see what happens.
all right.
so are we purchasing books or both?
Not, I mean, well, trustee Sullivan's gonna pay for it herself, it's only 1072.
Okay,
I would say something, but we're on
I
video
know, I
right
just-
now.
well, here's
Yeah.
the thing,
Go ahead.
just for, I'm bringing up past board meetings that
Yeah.
this topic was discussed at. So I'm looking at it as a broader, not just on this
Sure.
1072, broader scope. Let's say none of you are on the board anymore, just the application of purchasing materials for the board. So historically, we purchased the ILA standards book when it's revised, and we give each board member that. We've already purchased the new statutes. They haven't come in yet, because those are the two books. And then the fax file when that comes in, and if there's another financial manual that hasn't been revised in the last 8 years or so. So those are like kind of historically what we've done. It doesn't mean to say that we can't provide anything else. So that's why I'm asking the question about this particular one. Even if Trustee Sullivan's the only trustee who wants it, I want to know if you want us to do this. Because who knows, once Trustee Sullivan has the book, maybe then Vice President Bartoli would like one. So as long as we're all on the same page and that we're purchasing what we need to purchase, I just want to know if staff should do this or not. Future and now.
I
Books.
think we're fine with what we get now, personally.
I think for the nominal amount that we're talking about, I think anyone who wants a copy should be able to be
To this
provided a
specific
copy.
book, though,
Copy.
you're looking bigger picture, correct, or no?
I'm looking bigger picture, but if it's within the budget, are we purchasing materials for trustees? And $10 is within the budget, but I want to know if that's the consensus of the group, because I don't want
Yeah, I don't wanna-
individual trustees asking me,
Yeah.
purchase me this, purchase me that. It should be
It probably-
decided.
I mean, I don't think it's a policy. I would like to kind of treat it almost how we have to treat this travel, where the board kind of, and I know we did it for, what was it, United for Libraries, we voted on that. So, even though it's a small dollar amount usually, I would prefer to still have like a board discussion for trustee purchases like that. If it's all possible, that's my opinion, but I don't know.
I think that's kind of fair in the spirit that
Yeah.
this budget line is shared by the whole board.
Sure.
So we might
Yeah.
as well agree as a
Yeah.
board on how those funds should be spent. So
Everybody,
What is that agreement?
well, we're like,
Where did we end up?
so,
Is that
for
a
any
yes?
budget or any trustee expenditure, like the board will have to agree to sign off, so one trustee does it's a collective line item, so if everybody agrees, I shouldn't jump ahead, but.
I mean, so like if Trustee
anybody who
Sullivan
wants to be known as the one who voted down a $10 book,
Yeah.
go for it.
Go for it.
Morning bathrooms.
Yeah, I supported your 12 grand.
All right.
I'm supporting $10 book.
Okay, all right. Anybody else have questions on the budget, either the PowerPoint or what was in the packet? I mean, they're basically the same thing, so any other budget questions, comments?
Yeah, this is one I don't know if anybody will be able to answer, because I'm not sure what kind of investments we have to invest in. Will the market hurt us much?
So much of what we're invested in is already really stable, really not stock, fluctuating type things. And not to get economist here, but generally when people run away from stocks, they need to invest somewhere else, and then that helps the bond market, which is where more of our funds are. So
Great.
I'm not seeing, again, just putting on the accountant hat for a second, I'm not seeing an increased risk to our investments.
Great, thank you.
Well said.
Any other questions, comments on the budget? So we would vote on this next board meeting in
With the
April
adjustments.
with any adjustments. All right, I'll thank the director. I think it was a very good budget, and I like the presentation.
I like the presentation
Yeah,
too.
very much.
Two-sided worked for
We
me.
got
Yep.
Page
projected.
numbers might have helped, but I'm okay.
Say it again?
Page numbers
Oh,
might have helped.
sorry.
But we know that we got the projected actuals, which you've been looking for. and
Color choices
More
were nice.
detail, so, I mean, we got a lot of the new things we've been asking for a while, so.
Very good job, thank you.
I won't say it wasn't a challenge.
The director did work a lot, I know, very long hours, last week especially, but I'm
Oh,
sure
we vote
more
on
than
this.
that.
When do we vote on it?
It'll be next
April.
April.
April,
Yeah,
okay.
next month, regular board meeting. And that's the other thing, you know, in the past, that's the other thing, we've had at least 2, sometimes 3 meetings, and this is, I know, that's another thing I know the board's like, that they
Because it's combined, we
combined
didn't
on
chop it
one,
up.
not,
Yes.
not like we've done personnel and operating, so this was all one shot.
Yeah.
So, that's the other thing, I don't think it's ever been done in March, I mean, maybe one of the meetings, I don't know if it's ever been completed, so.
I have another question, sorry to drag us back, but I know, you know, hat on the back for you for economizing on, you know, the finance or accounting position and how you outsourced it to, what is it?
Sickage.
Sickage. Do you have any idea what that saved us? I mean, that was a good move. You know, you're here, you're able to do stuff at a
It saved us in employee costs, because we have budgeted a flat budget for employees. So, and that, like I mentioned, it includes performance increases, it includes the minimum wage adjustment. It also includes costs for health insurance increases. So it saves there. As far as a dollar amount, I can't really, off the top of my head, pick it up.
I think when I looked through our board packet, I think it was only $1,200 this month for sickage. Does that sound right? I think it was only $1,200.
So is 1,200 you know what I'm
Yeah,
looking
yeah,
for?
yeah.
I'm looking for, did
How
we
much?
save 20 grand
Beth, what
by?
did we say? We tried to do this math.
We haven't used a full year yet.
Correct, yes, that's true.
So when we go through our B and A, they
Sure.
might be here more hours, and in the beginning, I think our first bill was closer to $3,000.
Yeah, we had them like
Yeah.
initiate.
Yep,
Sure.
yep.
And we kind of have the process streamlined a little bit now
Right now,
for
but here's
closing
the
the
other-
month.
Here's the other wrench. We may move to a different accounting system, because the accounting system we are currently subscribed to is raising its prices very high, and it's not very user friendly, and there's another system we may shift to. So we may have some training there too, so it's a little up and down. You're definitely saving a bit via health insurance, benefits,
Sure.
costs.
Speaking of health insurance, do your claims for the staff, like, does your insurer provide, like, kind of, this is sort of where the health of your staff is and how you guys are containing costs through, like, health and wellness initiatives? Because I saw an increase each year. Of course, health insurance goes up each
Yep.
year. But I know even small companies make inroads in containing those costs by increasing the health of their staff. I don't know if that's something that's been discussed. We don't have to really talk about it right now, but it was something I know.
Well, we know that our rates have gone up, but yeah, we haven't really. I
How
don't
much
think
have
we've
they
done-
gone up?
I'm looking at. Actually, I'm looking at IMRF. Do you know off the top of your head, Beth?
If you don't,
We just
it's
did
fine.
this. I can email it to the board.
Yeah.
Health insurance is on a calendar year as
Yeah.
opposed to our
So it's like
fiscal
half
year.
a year this.
So
half a
we
year that.
know our rate is set through December, and then our pool Limerick suggested, 7% might be a good number to budget for the next 6 months.
But I can email it to the board
And
once I
then
have it.
we've also increased the employee contribution over the last couple of years too, right? So that's something that we some of the cost.
A bit.
questions, comments before we adjourn? This,
5-minute break.
all right, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned at 6:56. We'll take a 4-minute break.